Good afternoon and happy Friday, and welcome to the First Fridays. This will be a faculty webinar series with the Center for Learning and Innovation. And I'm Lynn Lease. I'm the Director of Faculty Enrichment in the CLI, and I'm excited that you're here and spending this afternoon with me. We're going to go through some things today that will help you better organize and set up your Canvas course for an optimal student experience. So I'm just going to hop right in here. So the first thing I want to let you know is this, what we're doing today is sort of an outpouring of one of the subcommittees specifically related to the Canvas student experience. And to gather some data, we added a question to the end of course evaluations that were given to the on-campus students in the fall. And we added a question that was simply describe your experience using Canvas for this course. And here are the positive things that we saw. So what I did is I went through, that's a very open-ended question. We didn't want to skew the students one way or another or tell them specifically what we were asking for. We just wanted to know what they would say. And so I created this word cloud. The bigger the word, the more often it's mentioned in the comments. The smaller the word, the fewer times it's mentioned. But I just wanted to give you an overview of these. When I went through and just did a cursory search for some of the more positive words, this is what we came up with. So some of the bigger words are easy to, and that easy to navigate, easy to find things, easy to use. You can see navigate, organized, PowerPoint's easy, good, great. So some of those bigger words, while they are pretty general, what that did for us was it allowed us to go in. When we look at the data, we can see what comments were made and what course specifically those comments were made about. And so I went into Canvas and looked at some of those courses that had more positive comments than some of the others. And I really looked at what are your fellow faculty members doing that would yield these positive comments. And then some of the negative words. And these, I mean, I saw these time and time again: confusing, disorganized, messy. So these words are really leading us to thinking about the navigation of the course. If students are saying things are disorganized, maybe it's the navigation and how things are organized. If it's confusing, maybe things aren't labeled correctly or in the right places. So just in aggregate, I wanted to share some of that feedback with you. So here's what we saw when we went into Canvas. And these are some of the things that your fellow faculty members have done well. So one of the things is navigation tips on the homepage. There are a few faculty who are doing a really nice job of orienting students to the course as soon as they come in and they land on the homepage. And kind of coupled with that is this idea of the nav bar, organizing it and condensing it down to only those items that students will need to click on, or only those items that the faculty member wants the student to click on. And I'm going to show you, we're going to actually hop into Canvas and I'm going to show you some of these things. So this is just an overview, and we're going to dig a little deeper here in a minute. The other thing we noticed faculty were doing and receiving positive comments, their modules are clearly named and organized. And I'll show you one pretty common system for organizing modules that yielded positive comments. Another thing that we saw some faculty doing was adding module text headers. And that's simply when you have a module, you have a subheading or a set of subheadings within the module so students can identify what resources are without having to click and dig into them. And again, I'll show you some examples of that. And then finally, the names of items are clear and offer context. For example, a lot of times we drag and drop files into Canvas, and whatever it happened to be named when we downloaded it and saved it on our computer and then drug it in, that's the name that's going to show up in Canvas. And faculty who are getting more positive comments are actually changing the names of those files after they're put in. They edit the name of it to more clearly identify for students what those items are. So here's what you might want to do. And we're going to head over to Canvas. So I created just a sandbox training where I could show you some of these things. So we're going to remember that the home page with the navigation tips, the nav bar, and the module organization. And I'll just show you here from a student perspective. So I have this set on student view at the moment so that you can see what this looks like when a student would come in. And I have set up the home as the front page or the home page of the course. And I have a nice image, and I have a welcome. I have the name of the course. Of course, this is pretty standard. Contact information, phone number, office location. That's of course fictitious. I don't have an office there in that building. I just wanted a placeholder, and then office hours. And then this is what we were seeing from some faculty members that were getting some really positive comments. They offered on this landing page some navigation tips, and they also made sure that their nav bar reflected these particular items that they were wanting students to click on. So the first one is home, and that just is click on home anytime you want to return to this page. Announcements can be used for professor updates, tips for success, and more. Modules, they can see the syllabus, support resources, weekly guides, and weekly assignments. And grades, they can see their Turnitin, similarity scores, their grades, and their professor feedback. And then I also added in this help and tools. Keep in mind that if students are using the student app for Canvas, they won't see that that help and tools, that they won't see this burgundy nav bar that's at the university level until they exit the course. But a lot of students are using either through a web browser on a laptop or through a web browser on their mobile device, so they will likely see that help and tools. And then I just noted that it's in the crimson navigation bar, and there they can access the student Canvas guides and library resources. So I've also narrowed down the nav bar so that students are seeing only those items that I reference. When I leave student view, you'll see, and you know, you're in Canvas every day, you'll see the long list. And a lot of times faculty aren't hiding some of those items that students just never need. So it's just adding noise to this front page and making it a little more difficult to navigate. The order is also important, which I'll show you how to fix that if needed. And then grades is there as well. So I'm going to go into modules as the student. So when I hop into modules, I see that I have, I'll collapse them. I have two modules. I'm going to add a third module here during this tutorial. But the first module is just general course information and support. I could parse that out a little bit more if I wanted, depending on how large that module was getting. And how many general course resources I wanted to add. But it's really important to think about where you're going to place items. If it is truly general course information about logistics and meetings and any tips and strategies that you offer them, that truly is general course information. But if it's specific to a project or an assignment, that's not really general course. Although I guess if you had a semester long project, that might be a good place to put that, or you may want to create a sub module within that general course information. And then of course I have a week, and it's really nice for students to see the dates of each week. Weeks aren't the only way to organize your modules, but in my opinion, it's probably the easiest for students to navigate because they don't have that big picture view of the course like you do. So I think by dates, they can wrap their mind around, okay, we're in week 3 of the term. I need to go into the week 3 area to see what I might need this week. So let's go ahead and expand these to show you what kinds of things I have in here. One is a syllabus, of course. I added Dr. Lease's tips for learning success, anything specific to what I feel students need to do in this course specific. I've linked them to some resources that I often reference in feedback to students. I often lead them to the tutoring and writing support areas, so I wanted to offer that link there. And disability services. We have students who are on 504 plans, and we just want to make sure they have that information right there at their fingertips. And then I always create a general course questions forum, and that's just, and what I put in there, I'll show you, is this is your space to ask general questions about the course. Questions posted here can be seen by everyone and answered by anyone. And if your question's more personal in nature, please email me directly. And then within the week, this is where I was talking about adding some subcategories, or some, they're actually called text headers. So within the module, you can add subcategories. So in each of my modules, I'm going to have a week 1 overview, and that's simply a page where I just type out, these are the types of things we're going to be doing this week. Any important things they need to know about, any projects they should start working on this week that maybe are due later in the term, anything that they might need to bring to class, I place that in the get ready area. And then I have a subcategory called read and review, and these are all the things that they're going to read and review. And then I have a complete section, and that includes anything that they need to submit to Canvas. So I have 1 assignment there. And then under grades, of course, they can go in and see their grades. And I am going to explain this little eye closing here when we get to the grades from the instructor view. Okay, so I'm going to leave student view. And I'm just going to review this home page a little bit. These are the best strategies I would offer you today with the home page. Make sure you have the course name and number and your information to contact. And then I would highly recommend considering adding a navigation tips section. And I'm recording this, so I will share this out. So if you need to come back in and look at the wording that I used, you'll be able to do that. These images just offer a nice visual when students log in. And I use a website called Pixabay. And these are free, royalty-free, open source images, vectors, illustrations. They even offer music and videos. And you simply do a search and you tell it what kind of item you want to search for. I usually start with photos for my main image on that homepage. And then my little, this little blue guy here for navigation was a vector graphic. And I think I just typed in navigation icon and selected vector graphics, and that came up for me. So just to make it a little more visual appealing, students appreciate that. Okay, so over in the nav bar, you can remember as a student view, I could only see certain items, home, announcements, modules, and grades. And those are the items I reference on my navigation tips. So I didn't really want to include anything else that I'm not going to use as a faculty member. And I don't want my students confused on, why is this page blank, or am I not seeing everything, or what do I do over here in this section of the course? And to update that, most of you know, but I just want to review it in case you don't. So to change this nav bar in the way students see it, you just need to click on settings. And under navigation, I'm simply going to drag and drop or enable and disable items. So you can see I'm able to with the 3 little dots. I can drag these around and reorganize them. I can also click on the dots and disable, which doesn't disable it for you, it simply hides it from the students. I could also just grab this and drag it down into the hidden items list as well. And then don't forget to click save at the bottom. So that's how you change your nav bar. Then to view how students will see it, you just simply click on student view and you just make sure that it's all set. So that's a highly recommended practice, that you get into the habit of reducing your nav bar to only those items that your students will need to help with their cognitive load and reduce any confusion that they might have. Okay, then I'm going to go into grades. And the only thing I want to show here really is it's more of a lot of faculty don't know this, so while I'm in here, I'm going to take the opportunity to show you. There aren't a lot of settings in here that you have control over in terms of the student view. It's pretty much set for you. But one of the things you can control are when your grades are posted. So a lot of times I like to, especially if students are doing any kind of long-term project or a writing intense project, or even something that could easily be shared from student to student. So I don't want to release my grades for a few students until I release them for all students. And so I choose to manually post my grades. This means I can go ahead and work on my grading ahead of time if students are turning in work early, but I'm not actually releasing or posting those grades for student view at the moment. So that is under manually post grades, and it just means that grades will be hidden until I release those to the class. So I can do my work behind the scenes and then release them all at once. So what that looks like is when I go into All About Me, I can see that I've not released the grades yet. So I'm going to go into that assignment and I'm going to click on Speed Grader. And we can see that I have graded this student's submission. I've given the test student a 44 out of 50. And this little eye up here in the upper left-hand corner, this will allow me to post the grades. And this will release the grades for all students who are graded at the same time. And so I can say I have one hidden. Do I want to release to everyone? And I would say yes, and that's post. And now all of my grades have been posted to the gradebook. So that's just kind of a little aside. Since we were in there, I wanted to show you that option. Then I want to go into modules, and I'll show you how to add subcategories. A lot of you do offer modules, and you are probably very familiar with. Just click the Add Module button. And I'm going to add a module. So I have another module added. I'm going to go ahead and publish it. And I'm going to go ahead and add my text headers. So I'm going to hit the plus button. And I'm going to add a text header. And I'm going to call my first one Get Ready. And I'm not going to indent, but the items that I add to this subsection, when I add those, I will indent so that I have a nice cascading view for students to see that some things are within a subcategory. So I'll add my other text header. And my final text header. So now I have 3 subcategories or text headers, and then I can start to add items to this area. So if I want to add a page, I'll just call this create a page. I'll call this week 2 overview. I think that's what I called the other one. And I am going to indent this 1 level so that it cascades under the area I want it to go in. And I'm just going to drag that up to get ready and publish it. So I can do this with assignments, with discussions, with files, with videos, with just about everything I'm going to add into my course. So think about your course, a course specifically, and week by week, what are some of the subcategories that you might include within Canvas so that as you're putting things in, it will have a place to live that will really make sense for students. So some things that we saw in the courses that had more positive comments were the addition of modules, small separate modules to chunk out the various items of the course, whether week by week or by item type. Again, I would recommend the week by week. You just create your 15 modules and then your subtopics and then add things as you go. The other thing we noticed is that it's very organized for students with things indented and things living in a category where it makes sense, and that there's a repeated pattern throughout. So once they learn your pattern in week 1, they're going to know when they get into week 2 and the subsequent weeks that, okay, I'm looking for PowerPoints. I remember in week 1, those were found under read and review. I know right where to go for the things we're covering this week. Another thing we noticed is, again, the names of things. So this particular PowerPoint slide, when I drug that in, it might have said Duncan _ 057 CH1 and then maybe an edition number or something. Well, students don't know what that means, so they have to click and open it to see exactly what it is. So just call it what it is, and you can just simply change the names of things by clicking edit, and then it will allow you just to change the name right here in the module. You can also see that I can increase or decrease my indent. I can duplicate and remove. So a lot of things that you're familiar with there. So those are the items I wanted to show within Canvas. So I would love to know in the chat from today, and I'll have a follow-up question to this too. And let me get my chat open. What's your #1 takeaway from today? It was fast and furious, but I wanted to offer just a few pointers based on the information we were seeing from students. So go ahead and add in. Great, right. So organization is key. Having those details about navigation on the home page, changing grading from automatic. There is no such thing as too clear for students, right, David? we need to think about things from their perspective and right, just make it as clear as we can. Better module names, better consistency. Right, John, reviewing things from the student view just to take a look at what they're actually seeing. Good. Yeah, these are great takeaways. Good. And then I don't have this on here, but I would like to know, is there something that's very obvious to you that you do that you think helps students that I didn't mention here today? Something that maybe even your students have said to you that, that was really helpful. Thank you for including that in Canvas, or thank you very much for doing things the way that you're doing them in Canvas. So you can type that out, or you can even unmute yourself and let us know. Let us hear from you. Laura says, one thing I find is that students work from their to-do list. I seem to have to remind them to click in our course and then go to modules. Yes, you're right. We're finding that in online courses as well. A lot of students are skipping the navigation into even the course or into various areas in the course that they need to go to. One thing to keep in mind is if there are things that, one way we've gotten around it in the online courses is anything to do with an assignment that's going to be submitted via Canvas. There may be a resource that lives somewhere else in the course, but if students need it to complete that assignment, we link it within the assignment directions itself or within the directions of the discussion or whatever it is that you're having them submit. So it may live under files and it may be shown under read and review in your module, but also you can add a link to that by adding a link and selecting a course item, and then you can navigate to files and put that right in those assignment directions. Gina says, yes, Laura, I've started on the first day of class showing students exactly how I expect them to use Canvas. Yes, and that's a wonderful recommendation, Gina, that I have found in the past of teaching courses that offer, an online companion. The more often you can open it up in class and walk students through starting day one and showing them how you've organized your course, take them on a little tutorial like I just showed you from the student view, explain what kinds of things you're going to be placing in the course and how they're to use it, the more likely they will be to use it. There's a student to-do list. Anything, Leslie asks, where is the student's to-do list? Anything that you have assigned a due date for will show up on a student's to-do list. And I don't know if I can showcase here. We'll see if I can. So over here in the to-do, they're going to, once they land in the course, they'll see a to-do and they can click and go directly into the assignments, anything that has a due date. Of course, this is also an announcement. I submitted the assignment already for this as the student, but it would show up right here. It would show that assignment that I have in my first module. And it shows my announcement too that they can read. So yeah, they can get right to the assignments without clicking in modules. So that's good to know. So all the more reason to share with students on day one how you're wanting them to use Canvas. And you can do the Easter egg for either a real grade or extra credit, depending on how kind you want to be. You guys probably know Disney has that concept of Easter eggs within movies that if you watch really closely, you can find different things in movies. And so, yeah, you could hide a little gem in there, a little extra credit assignment or something extra for them, a free cup of coffee or something. And yep, you can add that right in. Good. Great. Well, I just wanted to keep it nice and short today. I know you guys are busy. So if you think of anything or any questions, if you have other topics that you might want me to share on, please let me know. The next First Friday will be March 4th at 1 p.m. And it is flipping your PowerPoint for the student brain. So thanks so much for joining me, and I will talk to you guys soon.